Hello everyone, this is Mandy. We're going to do a negative space swipe today using some of the new Prizm pour colors. I decided on the colors based on the cell activator that I want to use. I did do a video just showing the colors. I was going to do them together in one video, but I realized it would have been a little bit too long. So we're going to do a swipe on this 12-inch cradled woodboard from Lowly Beffy. I primed the top of it. You really should prime the sides, but I didn't. I'm going to use what's left of some of my Walmart Color Place. I think I just stirred this up earlier, so this may be a bad move. Let me check the bubble factor. Looks like it has a few. I guess we could live on the edge and find out. I maybe should use one that's not been so vigorously stirred. Yeah, let this sit. I took my chances and kind of tapped that little container on the counter to see if bubbles popped, and sure enough, a bunch of them popped. So I think I'm going to use my Glidden Premium and Eggshell. I mean, they both can have bubbles, but the Glidden Premium, I can gently stir. The Walmart had been in this container for a while and it had thickened up. So I added a little water and I kind of folded the water in. So I definitely introduced a lot of air bubbles. So let me be smart about it and not do that. So I'm going to kind of show you my colors as we go. Let me lay down a little bit of this that I have right here. Pop some bubbles into my container. All right, so this is Glidden Premium Eggshell. I do have this as my pillow in my mixing video. I really like this pillow. It works great. My only issue with it is very prone to bubbles. So you kind of have to decant a little bit into a container and let it sit so that those bubbles get a chance to kind of rise to the top and pop. So, you know, all pillow paint can have bubbles. I mean, house paint gets stirred. That's the way it goes. A lot of times they shake it, and that really doesn't help. So if you buy it from the paint counter, try to discourage them from shaking it when they give it to you. But when you buy it off the shelf, you know, you just can't control if it's been shaken or not. But it is a good paint. From what I understand, I've never used Glidden Essentials, but from what I understand, Glidden Essentials is great too. I just never tried it. With the Walmart Color Place, it's a little thicker, but it's still a really great pillow paint. My only concern with that paint is sometimes, because it is so thick, you get flocculation if you spin or tilt too much, or on the sides of your piece. So if that's a big deal to you, you know, it's worth knowing. I have not tried to put GAC 800 in it to see if that makes a big difference. So I'm just gonna tap this a little bit, see if I can't pop the bubbles that I can't see. All right, a couple of them popped. Sorry about the noise. Sometimes that helps. It doesn't always get them all. There's definitely still some in there. All right, so I'm gonna use a mix. You might see my hand coming from this side. I'm sideways so I can see and reach. I'm on a stool. So I'm gonna show you my colors as I lay them down. I mostly just picked a couple tube paint colors so we could have them as a base. And I'm gonna try 2 cell activators together today. One of them is mixed a little thick, so I'm taking a lot of chances. So yeah, let me show you our colors. So this color is Deep Sea from Global. I got this from Pixel Paint Designs, and there is a discount code below. My light was too bright and it was This is a lot more like greenish teal than it looks like on camera. I'm going to put a nice band of that. I definitely still have some bubbles on here, but we're going to have to deal with them as time goes on. I also have a really bad habit of using too much pillow paint, and I'm still kind of learning the happy medium there. So we're going to put this here. I love this color so much. Glad I tried it. This is their Impasto paint, so it's more of like a medium or heavy body paint. Really more medium body, but it's very creamy, mixes great with a bloom pouring medium. I'm definitely going to try some of those colors again in the future. It has a little booger in it, so let me get that up. All right, next up, I'm going to do Indigo from Matisse. This is a Matisse Flow paint. I was going to say that I think that's the only way you can buy it, but I'm not sure about the structure. You might be able to get it as a structure paint. The flow paints are sort of like a soft body to medium body texture. The fluid are my favorite to put in a pouring medium. They're very creamy and easy to work with. And the structure from Matisse is like a heavy body acrylic. So if you're ever going to buy them and you're like, what does all this mean? I've been there. I was confused the first time too. So that's what they mean. And then this is Australian Red Violet from Matisse. This, I have the flow and the fluid, but this is the fluid. It's one of my all-time favorite tube paint colors. I think I'm going to kind of drizzle this one because I might bring it back toward the top. I'm not really sure. I just want to make sure I don't get this band of color too wide. So that's that. Now the Prizm pour colors I'm going to show you as I go. Again, this is not really taking the time to show you the colors. I did that in a previous video. So if you missed that, take time to check it out if you want to see the colors in action, just where I'm showing you each of the colors. I just wanted to keep this video a little shorter for the sake of people who are concerned about time, because I know my videos are sometimes a little bit long. Just pop in a couple of surface level bubbles that I can see, because I don't want to just pile on more paint without popping those. And my spinner always seems to favor one side. It seems like it's not level, but I have looked at it and I can't see any reason that it's not. So, as I said in my previous video, normally I suggest mixing Prizm Pour with your bloom recipe or a little bit of Jo Sonja gloss varnish. The Prizm Pour out of the bottle, this is the newest one, but the ones right out of the bottle are pretty easy to use as one of your layer colors. And that's kind of what I'm using it for, so that's the only reason I'm just going to pour it right out of the bottle. It's worked great for me so far, but you'll get the most consistent results by using it in your pouring medium. So I'm going to use, I can't decide which one to put first, African Violet. See, that's a little thick for a normal bloom, but for a swipe you can kind of get away with it. So if I wanted to thin it down just a little bit, I could mix it with my bloom pouring medium, or even just a little bit of gloss varnish. This one, I'm on the fence about using this one or not. This one is called Claret. And which you may have noticed, I really love a good red violet color. This is sort of a wine color, so you can probably understand why I like it so much. It's beautiful. And man, Blue Velvet is up next. I'm trying to kind of separate these a little bit so that they all still show. That's Blue Velvet. Twilight Violet. These are so pretty, you guys. Now, these are a little thick to just be putting down, but on a swipe, as long as it's not your base color, like your first layer of color, it's probably fine. If it was the first layer of color, you might have paint flocculation with your paint being too thick. So just understand, like, I factor all that in when I decide to just use it straight out of the bottle. I wouldn't put it down as my first puddle. So, all right, and I'm torn. I was gonna use Water Dragon, but I have a lot of deep colors. So I think I'm gonna use Frozen. Just for a little pop of brighter color. I'm really tempted to put more color on, but we really do have enough color. It's just so pretty. All right, so for my cell activator, I'm gonna use Blue Black from Atelier, which if you follow my channel, you know that's one of my favoriteest cell activators to use for negative space swipes. But I'm also going to use Cobalt Turquoise Light from Atelier, and this is Atelier Interactive, not the fluid paints. Free flow is what they call them. So I am just gonna pop a couple bubbles and then I'll load up my palette knife. All right, all I'm gonna do is just drizzle a wee bit of regular acrylic paint on the top, just a little bit, so we don't just have sparkle, sparkle, sparkle cell activator, just a little bit. All right, now let me move all this stuff out of the way. And I have to be careful because the last time I was moving things out of the way and I dropped my red violet on the floor and got paint everywhere. Not to mention, wasted my red violet, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna load my cell activator on my palette knife. Whichever color goes on first will be the last color over the top. So whatever I want to be the last color to show is the one I want to put on first. Kind of on the fence about that because these are all pretty dark colors. So, but I think I'm gonna primarily load up my palette knife with Blue Black and then do the, I just made this today and it's kind of too thick, but let me see if I can show you without getting it on the painting. Maybe a little tricky. So it's thick, but it does bounce back. I don't even think you can see that. I can't really show you either. I'm sorry. If I show you, it's gonna end up being in the painting. So we're gonna do the smart thing and not do that. So I'm gonna put a little bit of this on here and then I'm gonna sprinkle some of the Cobalt Turquoise Light. So this is very thick. So I'm kind of torn with how to do this. I really don't want it to be too thick because then it might take forever for cells to form. So right now I'm just kind of sprinkling them all around. You can probably see that. And then I'm just leveling it out a little bit. So when I do a negative space swipe, I kind of like to have a decent amount of cell activator, not too much, but if you have too little, sometimes you swipe into your color and then you don't get those beautiful cells that make such great paintings. But if you have too much, it'll take forever for the cells to come through. So, and like I mentioned, it's kind of thick, so I'm I used a little bit of the Cobalt Turquoise to kind of help move things around, because that one's a little bit thinner. And the blue black is just, I start with a 3-to-1 ratio, but because it's a heavy body paint, sometimes I have to water it down from there. But not water it down, but add more Australian Floetrol. But the problem is that I got the thing too full. So even though it really needed some more Australian Floetrol, the container is just too full. So this is what we have. And I just realized I loaded this up and we got to go again on the other side. So it's probably way too much. Oh well, let's find out, huh? Okay. Some serious bubbles there. Definitely a lot of cell activator. I'm currently a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, that it's not gonna sell up, but I think it will. I am dealing with some bubbles, which are sometimes gonna give us weird cells. Sometimes you just got to give it a little bit to develop. But I definitely used too much. But now we're kind of committed, right? Because we have to use kind of the equal amount on the other side. So all I'm doing here is just kind of breaking the surface tension. To see what will come through. Sorry about my head in your way. It is coming through, but not without challenges. So I'm going to focus on the other side and see what this one does on its own. And then I will come back to messing with that. It was definitely too much cell activator. But again, I don't know if we were going to use both of them. I don't know how much better we could have applied that. You know what I mean? So the colors that are coming through look super cool. Just want to see how well we fare on the other side. Now, if I do the other side a little bit better, I can always tilt this a little bit more this way and even that out a little bit. But what's coming through is looking pretty good over here. This right here is concerning me because it looks like it's a white bubble. But one of my favorite things about using this as a cell activator are these pillow cells that you get. They're so much fun, in my opinion. So I'm going to put some more of the blue black on my palette knife. And then after this, I'm going to thin that down a little bit. I don't like these giant cells, but those will probably spin off. That's probably because I popped those bubbles while the cells were forming. I know some people love giant cells. I'm not one of those people. I like the tight little cute ones. I don't dislike large cells, but I like them to be kind of close knit. If I get a vote. I do love the way the turquoise cell activator looks with the blue. Like, you probably can't tell from where you are yet, but it's forming this cool little ring around some of the cells, which is really neat. The blue black is definitely more dominant than the turquoise. But my cell activator is way too thick, y'all. So, which is okay for swipes. You can kind of get away with it, but this is kind of what I have. But if you see it, it's not moving very much. So it's definitely thick. But I also don't want it to be very different than what's on this one side, so. Okay. I am trying to use maybe a little bit more of the turquoise because it's a little bit thinner on this side. Okay. But this is coming through. It's just slow. So kind of nervous, but let's go again. Again, so much paint there. Let me wipe off my tool. Now we'll mess with it. See if we can't get those cells to pop through. What's coming through on this side is really cool looking. It's just taking a while to develop. This one part bothers me a little bit where it seems like some white is coming through. So let's see if I can't address that without making it worse. I don't even know. It actually may be a teal color, so this right here. I think anything I do is probably just gonna make it worse. So I'm gonna get my head right in the middle here and break the surface tension in some places and see if we can't get some cells to come through. This one place that I keep wanting to mess with, my concern is that as it spins out, that white that's trying to come through is going to be even more noticeable. So I'm trying to see if I can't kind of mess with that, but I don't know that anything I'm going to do is going to really make it better. I don't have a very steady hand right now. So all that I'm trying to do seems to be making it worse. Yeah, almost anything I do seems to make that worse. So the only thing I can think of is to dab a little cell activator that's down here on the runoff on there and see if it doesn't mask it a little. So let's see. All right. So all I'm doing is breaking the surface tension, and where I have a lot of it, I'm trying to blow it over so the color can come through. Some of the cool cells are on the edge where you know it's going to spin off. That's kind of the way it goes. All right, let me turn it around. we are definitely getting some cells. It took this a long time to form, so I'm trying to not be super impatient. Some cells are popping through. I don't know how well you can see that, but some cells are popping through. This may have not been the smartest day for me to try using the cell activator at the same time, because I really wanted you to see these colors. But here we are, getting my hair in the paint. What concerns me is this part right here isn't selling up very well. It could just mean that when I swiped it, I was a little bit heavier handed and kind of swiped into the color. So that's not too big of a deal. I can wreck that. I can do a lot of things to it, but I want to give it a little bit of a chance to develop, because if we're going to get some cool cells in here, I want to give them a chance to show up. So just when I said that, some of these started to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for a second, see what develops, and then I'll be right back. All right, I only paused you guys for a couple minutes. I turned the dryer on. I blew on it a little bit. Now I'm going to tinker with it just a little bit. As you can see, this is the side that we needed things to develop on, and it definitely has. I like the cell structure better on this side than this other side, but it definitely did develop. So let me mess with it. I am thinking possibly about doing a wrecking line through here where we don't have as much development. But before I do that, let me do these wispies. So I like to go in and take the part of the pillow cells where it's sort of wispy and connect those little furry looking pieces together. I don't really know how else to describe them other than to call them kind of furry. I do notice, because this is the Glidden Premium, I do notice with this pillow we get larger, like cobblestone looking cells. With the Walmart Color Place, because it's thicker, I get the smaller ones. I do get a mixture of them, but I notice with the thicker pillow paint on these negative space swipes, I tend to get a little bit more of the small cells and the large cells. So that's something noteworthy when you're thinking about a pillow paint, is your cell formation, right? It can be very different from one pillow to the other. A thicker pillow tends to hold its composition a little bit better than a thinner one, but sometimes a thicker pillow can be so thick that it can actually cause you some challenges later on. There are some bubbles, so pardon me for just a second. Sorry, Chloe, I scared my dog. I'm just gonna pop a couple of them this way. The colors are beautiful, and they are kind of exactly what I had in mind. Oops. The composition I've had to work hard for it, but I kind of knew that going into it, since I had just made the cell activator and I knew it was a little on the thick side. So some of these bubbles are still going to require some attention, unfortunately. So I'm really torn between, do I want to go ahead and wreck through right here? If I do, I would probably come through this side and go this way. Let's open this up a little bit first, get a little movement in it. The cool thing about the Glidden is it's gonna glide and move really easily. With Walmart, because it's thicker, you have to work a little bit harder to move it, but you don't have to worry about it like over enlarging and that kind of thing. So I'm going to kind of deliberately put some curve in here because I don't want it to just be straight across. And I'm kind of wanting to open up that middle a little bit. So So I'm leaning toward wrecking it kind of gently, not a big wrecking line, but maybe something like this. That may not have even been noticeable enough to matter. And I kind of want it to be a little more intentional. So let's do this. That helps kind of give our eyes somewhere to land when we look at it. I don't really know that I want to do much else in the way of wrecking. There's a couple places that where I blew it out, it's kind of maybe exaggerated a little bit. So I think we'll just kind of mess that up right there. So I'm just kind of making a little more sense of that. Where I messed that up, it kind of needs to be fixed a little. Let me see if you guys are still seeing everything okay. Looks like it. Okay, so we have a little bit of a wrecking line here. We broke up this a little bit. I love these pillow cells, so I don't really want to mess with that too much. Let's give it a gentle spin and see what else we might want to do. My initial thought is that we might want to come in through here. But a lot of that's going to spin off, so we may be just kind of wasting our time. There's a piece of fuzz right here. So let's gently spin and see what happens. Obviously, we're going to open up some of those larger cells in the center, which is okay. I kind of like this now because it kind of makes sense of that spot. And it's not too much wrecking. Sometimes too much wrecking can be busy if you're really kind of going for something that's like a negative space swipe. Have a bubble right here on the edge. And these colors are gorgeous. I kind of like that weird thing I did right there. Kind of works. So let's spin it again and see. It's definitely opening up. We want to make sure we get enough paint off of here so that it doesn't crack. But I don't want it to become a huge design if I can avoid it. Since I didn't prime the edges, I am getting some bubbles on the sides, so I'm kind of having to be mindful and pop those so that they don't stay there. That's one of the reasons why you really want to prime your edges. Sometimes I just don't have time for that and I just want to paint, you know? Let's be honest, sometimes it's just impatience. So we still have some pillow bubbles I need to pop, but I really like the composition so far. Do need to spin a little bit more. Considering how hard we've had to work for this one, I like it. This one cell here in the middle, it's kind of big, but because it's part of this wrecked area, it kind of works. I'm tempted to come in and wreck it a little bit more, but my gut tells me not to do that. So the other thing I'm kind of tempted to do is come and draw this out a little bit, which I think might actually work. Kind of soften this a little bit. Because it's kind of starting to stick out a little bit. So I kind of like this, this way that we can kind of soften these edges and maybe keep this from looking quite so bulgy right there. Okay. Let me spin again. Just want to make sure we get enough paint off. But I want to spin slowly. We definitely have a lot of big cells now. So I told you guys I like the smaller ones. We definitely have some big ones now. So I'm just gonna have to embrace it, I suppose. Got to get enough paint off. But I do think we might have enough paint off. There is one part that is not going off the edge for some reason. So let me see if I have any pillow paint left where I can just make that right. Come on, let me see. Let's see. So it kind of looks like when we shake it, wiggle it, it's not a lot of paint. So I think we probably have enough off. Let me pop some bubbles, clean my hands up, and I'll bring you down for a close-up. All right, everybody, let me bring you in for a close-up. I do want to point out in the beginning, remember I told you that sometimes if you use the paint just out of the bottle, it may be a little too thick, and if it's too thick, it can cause flocculation. So that did happen in a couple places. I still think it's beautiful, but I noticed it right up here. See right there? So I just put a couple lines through there to soften that a little bit. It also happened right over here. So I kind of did the same thing just to kind of draw attention away from it. I still think it's beautiful. My husband came out here and said it was awesome, so I don't think that it's a deal breaker by any stretch, but it does go to show that if you are going to use it right out of the bottle, you may want to use a little varnish just to make sure that it's thin enough, because flocculation is caused by, it can be caused by a couple things. Two of the things that I know of are your paint being too thick, so the more you maneuver it, it starts to pull the pigment apart that's in your paint. It can happen to tube paints, doesn't matter, any kind of paint. It can happen to pigments, I mean, doesn't matter. It can also mean that you're just spinning or tilting too much, and you're stretching it and stretching it and stretching it, so it just kind of reaches a point where it doesn't do very well. So anyway, that's just way too much explanation for a close-up, but here we go. Such beautiful colors. And again, I took a lot of chances with the double cell activator, but you can see where the cell activator, the turquoise, kind of outlines some of these cells. That's kind of the fun part of using a double cell activator. My cell activator being too thick could have also caused the flocculation, just for what it's worth. My cell activator was way too thick, so that could have also caused some of that. But we really had to work for it because it was so thick. I think it would have been a lot easier if it had been thinner. So next time we'll know to thin it down a little bit. But I like these tiny little cells. I really love this color. I think that's the Twilight Violet. You can just see all of the shimmer in here. It's so beautiful. So you'll obviously be seeing these colors more in upcoming pours. This is where we kind of drew that little line down the middle, which I really like the color we got here by doing that. I'm always kind of apprehensive about doing that because if I like the whole stretch of the canvas or the design, I don't always like to do that. But sometimes there's this one spot that just doesn't do a lot for the whole piece, and sometimes it makes sense to mess with that one a little bit. There's that beautiful Claret color. This is Frozen. This one is, what was the name again? Sorry if you can see my stool. Blue Velvet is right there. So pretty. These colors are outstanding. So don't forget to take advantage of that offer while it's still here. I do like the way this turned out. Is it perfect? No. Are any of the paintings I ever paint, do I ever say they're perfect? No. But it's been a while since I've done a negative space swipe. I always love these little pillow cells that you get, and I love the little wispy lines that you can create around your piece that just give it some interest and some depth. Here's what we did at the top. So yeah, let me know what you think. Which color was your favorite? I'd love to know. It's hard to pick a favorite. But if you're new, please like and subscribe. If you're returning, thank you for all your support. Really appreciate you guys. But drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to take advantage of that promo while you can. Discount codes are in the description box below. And thank you again. Stay safe. Have a great day.